Good morning. It is that time again. It's 10:30, which means it's Functional Friday. Joining me this morning is Dr. Laura Wies. I'm excited to get in conversation with her. But before we start that, I want to introduce myself if this is the first time you are watching. I'm Becky Schoenig, one of the co-owners of Symbol. Symbol is a healthy lifestyle-focused restaurant located in Kirkwood and in Chesterfield, Missouri. We like to say if food is your medicine, Symbol is your pharmacy. So our doctors are who we enjoy connecting with. Those doctors are the ones that value food and identify that food is a healing process in your life. And that's why Laura is with me this morning. So good morning.
Hello. How are you? Good morning, Becky. Thanks for having me.
You are welcome. You're welcome. It's always nice when I get to see a doctor that I've actually met in person. I came out to your office. It's been several months now, but I saw your name coming across and I wasn't quite sure. And then when I looked you up, oh yeah, I know that face.
Yes. I just want to start by thanking you for having me, and also thank you for having Symbol, because it's been a great source of not only food, but places to go for some of my patients who are looking for some healthy options whenever they go out to eat.
We appreciate that. Thank you. And it really is. I oftentimes say this. We were getting the patients coming into our doors and not knowing who was sending them. We just had all of these people, and I don't even say patients. We had all of these customers that had specific dietary issues. And as we continued having more and more conversations, we're saying, who's bringing you in or who's sending you in?
Right.
And it was all of the doctors that were sending. So then it was my job to get out and find out who you guys were and get to know you guys better. So thank you. It's all about us working together to make this all happen.
Exactly.
So let's talk a little bit about your background. You haven't always been in private practice. As a chiropractor, am I correct? You were working at Mercy Medical for a while there?
Yes. So I was at the integrative facility over at Clarkson Clayton at Mercy. It's a wonderful facility. They've got chiropractors, physical therapists, massage therapists, OTs, PTs, a whole team of wonderful, wonderful doctors. But I decided to leave last year so I can focus on private practice.
It's always interesting. I actually had no idea that Mercy had this integrative component to it. And when there are so many people saying we need the Western medicine and Eastern medicine and all of this stuff combined to work together, it actually is happening. We're just not aware of it.
Right. Yeah, they're over there at the Baldwin location. I think there's a couple more spread out, but yes, it's a great tool to utilize because they can pull up your whole chart and your previous history. So yeah,
that's awesome. So what made you decide to go into practice for yourself then?
I always wanted something a little bit more and wanted the freedom to do so.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my draw. And I always knew whenever I was in school that I wanted to be in private practice and just have the freedom to make my own schedule and do whatever my patients needed in order for them to heal. So, yeah.
I think that's why many of us go into business. We want to work off of our own schedules. But like we were sharing just a moment ago, you can be so busy, but it never feels like you're busy when you love what it is that you do.
Exactly. You don't work a day in your life whenever you love what you do. So
Yes. So we posted in there, and one of the things that we're wanting to dive into and talk about specifically today is anxiety and depression. As a functional medicine doctor, how are you seeing patients coming in, and where is this helping them?
So I'll just tell you a little bit of background about why, I got into it. So back when I was in chiropractic school many moons ago, right in my last year and a half, my mother had some bouts of bad depression. And so she wasn't receiving care from conventional medicine. And so I was like, okay, she's going to see all these different doctors and nothing seemed to be helping. So obviously, whenever you see one of your parents suffer like that, it's like, hey, I got to help you. And so I actually graduated. I had my thesis or capstone, if you will, paper that was the natural treatments for depression, and everything had to do with diet, with exercise, with meditation, different stress techniques to try and turn off. And so I really just dove deep into the research there and started reading everything from, Perlmutter to Wheat Belly to Kelly Brogan, all those different wonderful, wonderful authors. And then I started putting those different techniques into practice. And I helped my mom. And just unfortunately, I have the genetics that predisposes me to different mental concerns. So I just wanted to make sure that I have every tool in my arsenal to make sure that, I'm okay, right? And I'm happy, healthy, and that my whole family is. So that's kind of how I got into things. But typically whenever I see patients come in, and depression is so prevalent nowadays, unfortunately, it's one of the number one disability cases that the United States faces. And I truly believe in the inflammatory response from depression. So once we really once I sit down with my patients and ask them, hey, what are you eating? What's your movement like? Tell me what your day-to-day is, as far as work, as far as your relationship with your significant other or your kids. And then we really get down to the nitty-gritty of why they're living their life. What is causing them to do certain things that they're doing. And we examine what's their blood sugar regulation? What's their thyroid look like? What do their hormones look like? What is their B12 status? What is their vitamin D? All these different components that you can easily test in the blood to see really what's going on. And then we go from there, just start the treatment plan. But everybody has stress, Becky. You can't talk to one person on this earth that says, I don't have any stress in my life, that just doesn't exist. But the key is, how do you cope with your stress? What are you doing to turn off and to keep yourself grounded?
Yeah. And I would say, I would like to add in there, I think that, yes, we do have stress continually happening in our lives. But like you said, so much of it is, how are we reacting and how are we responding to that stress so we try to control everything. Everything we're trying to control. So in my mind and in the work that I do so much, it's about how do you release control and just trust the process of it.
How do you surrender, right?
Yeah.
Trust in God, the universe, what have you.
Now we're speaking the same language. Thank you. I want to acknowledge, and my mom is actually on here and watching. She's coming into St. Louis from Wisconsin. She's at the airport, I believe, right now, watching this live. And it's going to be I'm excited because it's been 12 years. I don't think she'll care that I'm sharing some of this stuff. But depression runs deep in our family. My mom has had, been on medications for years. She has seen me be able to cope without medication for a very long time now. But in my 20s, I was on many medications and I just didn't care and like the way that I felt being on it. And I was constantly seeking other resources. And it took a lot of work. And I mean, this was before, I don't even know, were there functional medicine doctors out there 20 years ago doing what it is that they're doing now? Were there? There were?
I think so, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how new everything is. I know chiropractic care. I did acupuncture. I was under chiropractic care. And I was intuitively just shifting the way that I was eating and finding spiritual practices such as meditation, Reiki, other things like that helped me along the journey. So you go through all of this lab work with somebody. How do you then give them the tools to start going out and implementing things?
Yeah. So typically after, Mrs. Jones comes in and she says, maybe her top concerns are depression and anxiety. Okay, so we'll test her blood sugar, her hemoglobin A1C, and maybe she's pre-diabetic. And I explained to her, hey, in order for you to have a stabilized blood sugar, you're not going to go up and down throughout the day with your insulin, and you're always going to have a steady state of energy. Well, do you think that if you have energy, you're going to feel less inclined to be depressed, right? Or I can tell you how many patients I see that are iron deficient. that just with a little bit of iron and cutting the caffeine will give them more energy and leave them less anxious because they're stopping all the different stimulants. But I typically recommend an anti-inflammatory diet. I'll tell them, hey, these are the things that are going to fuel you, and more importantly, fuel your brain. So I'll tell them, okay, let's start out with eating meat, vegetables, making sure you get enough protein, making sure you get some of those good fats. Nothing wrong with fruit. But and obviously I'll point out, we do food sensitivities here. So I'll point out any type of sensitivity that could be leaving a inflammatory reaction. But food always comes first, Becky, as you know. Food is always going to be number one, because you can take every supplement on the earth and not feel better because your diet is not where it should be. But some of the other things that I commonly see are thyroid. Thyroid concerns, and maybe an MTHFR, which is a genetic disorder. If you test positive for it, that leaves you not methylating properly, and that's just a fancy word for you're not completing over 300 different functions in your body properly. Okay, so we will support the body naturally in that way. Also, any type of B12 deficiency, vitamin D deficiency, and I'm missing a few, but we take what's on paper. We are objective about what's going on, and then I guide my patients in the way that they need, because every patient's going to be different. Every single patient's going to have different needs, and I will flat out ask them, Becky. I will say, hey, what do you feel like you need to heal from this? I'm very real with them, and they will tell me, you know what, I think I need to, cut back on my work hours, or make sure that I go home and spend more time with my kids, or take the time with my spouse, or what have you. Everybody's got different goals and different needs. But I will also always ask them, what are your coping mechanisms? Everybody's got stress, like we talked about before, but how are you taking the time to turn off? How are you, is it meditation? Is it taking a walk around the block whenever you feel too stressed at home? Is it yoga? How are you getting grounded and getting back to yourself? And I will teach my patients, hey, in the morning, check in with yourself, see how you feel. If you feel like going to work out in the morning because you have enough energy, do it. But if you don't, then just, have a relaxing morning, do whatever you want to do, read. So it's really just about picking up on the messages that your body's sending to you.
I love the way that you just said that, because I say this all the time. We are our own gurus. We don't have to seek something out. You guys as doctors can guide us with tools, look at all of the information that our body is saying. But in the end, our body is already telling us specifically what it is and that it needs. We just have to listen to it and be conscious and aware of what it is that's happening. I'll go into my story just a little bit in this last year. And I had started telling you when you had asked if our St. Charles location was still open. And we closed that location 8 months ago. And the year and the progress, probably 2 years from opening up our Chesterfield location to then building the St. Charles location, we're in this mindset of go, 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 go. We're wanting to build. And it felt like at moments we were crashing, and the stress of the third location, between money and just several things, we finally came to the decision it is best for us, not everybody else, but for us to close the doors and just figure out how to move on from that. Right. And in doing so, like I said, we put ourselves first again in our priorities. And I started working on my own health and identified that I was celiac, identified that I had a thyroid issue. I had high iron, and I had a B12 issue. So when I started pulling all of these pieces together and utilizing them as tools in my toolbox, thanks to doctors and thanks to the lab work and all of those other pieces, I started implementing it, and I share it all the time. I am the happiest that I probably have been in a very, very long time, if not ever. And
That's amazing.
it really truly is when I can look back and see my journey and my life history and see how it's kind of came full circle. So you guys are really amazing at the work that you're doing, and the resources are out there for people to tap into, but it's still up to us to do the work.
Exactly. And that's the hardest part about it. You can come in and see what you should be on to make you feel better, but the hardest part is always going to be doing the work. Hardest part is, and the hardest part is saying no to the little distractions that are there every single day, like the distractions to go, to why would you make your own food whenever you can go and get some fast food in 5 minutes and have a whole entire meal and be completely full. It makes you have a relationship with your food because you're making it yourself, but that's hard work. That is so hard. And making the decision to get up every day and having a positive attitude and to go out and, preach whatever you want to preach and to exercise, to move your body, to give your body what it needs, that's hard work. But that's not some sort of pill that you can ever sell to anyone,
Yeah, I think that's where humans and doctors in the society in which we have been living in for quite some time, we've been looking for easy fixes. We've been looking for easy fixes when it comes to medications. When it comes to food, we're looking for convenience and easy, and it's prepackaged.
Yes.
But when you do start tapping into the relationship that you have, and truthfully, I like to say it's the relationship we have with ourselves.
Exactly.
That becomes the priority. And I recognized yesterday I was grocery shopping. My husband and I live in our home by ourselves now, and both of my kids are coming into town and my mom's coming into town. I'm like, I best have some food in the house.
Yeah.
Or somebody might worry that we're not surviving.
Yeah.
But because so much of our food is fresh produce, vegetables, fruit, meat, all of that kind of stuff. I cook, on the weekend, and then we have food at the house during the week. But even as I was grocery shopping, there is moments where I want to indulge in macaroni and cheese or something like that. But I even was finding myself looking on the shelves at all of the gluten-free resources that I had and looking at the ingredients and reading it and going, yeah, no, that doesn't sound good to me. Even though it's gluten-free, this does not feel like it's going to feel good once it hits my stomach.
Yes, if you can't pronounce it, it's probably not a good idea, right?
Yeah.
But I will attest to that. It's hard. It's so challenging, especially I have a 1-year-old son. He is the greatest blessing. My husband and I have been married for a few years now. And, sometimes you get home at 6:00 and you're like, what am I going to do? I don't have anything prepared. So I just get out my frozen vegetables, put it on a pan, and in 5 minutes it's ready. And then normally I'll have some sort of meat, but it's like, sometimes you are in a bind, naturally you're just going to be like that if you're not preparing your meals. But you just have to power through it. You just have to make the decision, hey, I'm going to nourish my body, right? I'm going to give my body what it needs as opposed to what it doesn't need.
Right.
And it's saying yes and no in some of those weak moments, right, that we start to see a change.
Yeah, it was eliminating gluten from my world really, I think, shifted everything. And I would say it was a journey of it. It wasn't like my conversation my interview was with Dr. Anthony last week. And I communicate with Dr. Anthony and I say to him, you cannot tell me I can never eat gluten again because that won't work for me. I know I'm going to choose it from time to time, but the longer I go without it and then I choose to eat it, I recognize the repercussions that I have.
Right.
And for me, the repercussions is the depression and the anxiety. It's not even as much the anxiety. It is that itty bitty shitty committee that hits my head and starts having these conversations. And it's this whole circle that goes round and round.
Right.
And it's not worth it to me. So now I'm always looking at, what do I have going on in the next 2 to 3 days? Is it going to be worth it to me? It is, because that's when it hits me.
Right. And you know what? You got to tell yourself, Becky, progress, not perfection, right?
Yes, absolutely. Hands down, all the way. One of my best friends is getting married next month. And when she told me what was on the menu, it's pastas and pizza and everything else. And I go, I'm not sure what I'm going to eat. She goes, there's salad there for you. So it will be one of those moments where I will be faced with the choice. And like, if the choice were sitting in front of me right now, it wouldn't be worth it to me because I know what I have.
Right.
But if I know what's going on, I may plan around it, or I may schedule things, but I'm going to do what's going to work best for me. And it's not about feeling like I'm offending somebody. Because I think that happens oftentimes too, when we're talking about food. People feel like they're offending somebody when they're saying no to it.
Yes. But I mean, as long as you make someone aware, hey, this is what I'm going through, this is what I'm doing right now, no one should really be offended. I mean, you would think so, right?
Right.
But, you know, to each their own. I mean, everybody's on their own journey, you know, they really are. So we just have to, you know, respect that and go from there. But you have to I meet my patients where they're at, right? So I tell them, hey, let's mark off some milestones, and then we can get where you want to go. And I always tell them progress, not perfection. So
right. That is so true.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you a few questions.
Yeah, of course.
That may not be in your, we're going to go outside of the doctor zone for a moment. Okay. So if you were to go out for a nice dinner someplace outside of Symbol, we're not like, we know Symbol's on your radar. Okay. But where is one of your favorite places to go eat at outside of Symbol?
Oh, that's a loaded question. I love food. Oh man, I love it. I love Thai food. I love Indian food. So we actually used to live in Benton Park, down in the city. And so there's so many different restaurants down there that we would eat, like Nicaraguan food. But typically, you know, if it's Thai or Indian, I enjoy those. But like sometimes it really just depends on my mood though. Like sometimes it's chicken, sometimes it's a nice steak and like some sweet potatoes or like grilled vegetables and a nice paired glass of wine.
Oh, so there you go.
That is my
deal. Speaking of Thai restaurants, if you have not tried Rice Thai Bistro, which is in Baldwin on Manchester, it's a small little place. So worth going to. It's one of my absolute favorites. Cool. Absolute favorites. Okay, if you joined the circus tomorrow, what act would you be, or what character would you be in the circus?
I think I would ride the elephant. I think that sounds the most enticing. That would be pretty cool. Or be like a master juggler, maybe. I don't know. So yeah.
How about a juggler riding an elephant?
That would be the best.
Let's just make that one.
Okay. Deal.
So yeah, perfect. Okay. And the third question is, if you could escape tomorrow and go someplace by yourself for an entire week, where would it be?
Oh man. Hawaii, for sure. Hawaii.
Have you been to Hawaii before?
Yes. Yes. For our honeymoon, we went to Hawaii. It is literally heaven on earth. I've never seen something like it because I love the mountains.
I know. I know. It is like
paired up together, and then in other certain parts, you kind of felt like you're at Jurassic Park. You know,
yes.
It was filmed there, but man, that place is heaven on earth. Oh,
it is one of the
coconut and macadamia nut. You know, there's like not a whole lot of dairy, so it's like, hey, this is my place.
I think we both got excited about Hawaii when you said that and you're explaining it. I was there one time for a retreat, and unfortunately, I didn't get to experience the island quite as much as I would like to. But that would be probably one of my very favorite places to go as well. Rent a Jeep, travel the island for an entire week. It would be so much. The people there are amazing.
They are.
I remember our last day in Hawaii. We were going shopping. Our flight wasn't taking off for quite some time, but we had to check out of our hotel, and we were traveling around, and we wound up in this little shop, met somebody, and they offered to allow us to go to their house and take a shower and freshen up before we got to the airport.
Yeah, those were kind people.
You can also sleep in tents on the beach there for very long periods of time.
I never saw that. That's funny. Actually, you know what? I lied. I did see people doing that, like on some of the public beaches. It was funny, like around 3 or 4, you would see a bunch of people just like pooling around the beach for beach parties. I'm like, this is my kind of place.
Yeah. Laura, I want to thank you for joining me this morning. I love having these conversations, and the end of these always tend to be the best because we bring this human side to the doctor behind the knowledge and the information that's making your body tick.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Becky. I really appreciate it.
You are welcome. Can you let people know where your office is located at and how they can reach you? And then we'll make sure that a link is also added in the comments as well.
Okay, awesome. Yes, my office is in O'Fallon, Missouri, so it's right off of Highway K and Highway 40. And it's back behind a couple different restaurants and a bunch of medical buildings. And then you can get a hold of me by calling the office at 636-755-4058, or online, it's www.stlouisfunctionalmedicine.com.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. My name is Becky Schoenig. I am one of the co-owners of Symbol, which is a healthy lifestyle focused restaurant located in Kirkwood and in Chesterfield, Missouri. Just to give you some updates on what it is that we have in the works. If you haven't seen our event page on our Symbol Facebook page or on our website, www.mysymbol.com, you'll see some events that we have coming up in the works at our Chesterfield location. We are collaborating with Kimberly Leving, who we interviewed several weeks ago, all around fermentation. Greg's created a 3-course dinner, and Kimberly is going to be lecturing, and you'll have the opportunity to walk out with recipes in hand. We're also working on, and Greg has scheduled, a gluten-free baking event. And also, I'm super excited. Tonight is the Mannequin Project up here at Medici Media Space that Pookie has put on. 15 artists have came together to paint mannequins, and so it's an entire experience to be able to view those this evening. And this is my year of checking things off of my bucket list. Bartending has always been on my list, so we're collaborating with Center Ice Brewing, which is in the city. Next Friday evening, tickets can be purchased for that. We're bringing in the food, so you get healthy, nutritious food, and then you can buy a beer. I've also partnered with Blue Kombucha that evening to create some mixed cocktails because that's kind of my flair in there. So Laura, I want to thank you again for joining me today, and we'll connect again here in the near future, I hope. And let's keep healing the St. Louis market and reaching out beyond St. Louis. So thank you.
Thank you, Becky.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.